2025 was a damn goofy year in cinema. It started off as one of the weakest since 2020 with so many disappointments and letdowns. I was failing to find a movie I really connected with, and then boom, like an explosion, 2025 really delivered in the second half.
Yeah, they had us the first half, I'm not gonna lie.
With banger after banger releasing and ending the year as strong as you possibly could. Between you and me, I always had an easy pick when it came to Best Picture at the Kane Eddy Awards. The first, the second, and the third. I knew months in advance what was going to win. The fourth is a little different. I had about 10 picks for who could win, each presenting a great case for being the definitive movie of 2025. We saw filmmakers take risks like never before, more movies made for massive formats like IMAX, daring performances and some potent messages, giving 2025 an eclectic and thought-provoking film slate that have lingered with me long after the credits rolled. There is one thing left to do. Strap yourself in, get them keyboards ready, because here comes some controversy. Welcome everyone to the 4th annual Kane Eddy Awards. Don't worry, if you want to get straight to awards, there will be chapter markers, but first I want to acknowledge some huge things for the channel, man. We hit 1,000 subscribers in 2025, and I am so damn thankful for each and every one of you. I started this journey not knowing how to present in front of a camera, how to edit, or even really talk coherently about movies. Watch my early stuff, it is so rough. And yes, I'm still not perfect. I have so much more improving to do, but it has been so cool watching this channel progress and watching so many of you stop by and talk movies with me. Some of you have watched each and every single one of the Kane Eddy Awards, and I'm speaking directly to you right now when I say thank you. Truly, you have no idea how moving I find this stuff, and I am so grateful for you just taking a chance on a small channel like mine. You have made my dream of wanting to do this full time a little closer to becoming a reality, and for that I am just so grateful. By the way, I wasn't able to see every single movie that released in 2025. There were a couple of things that I missed, and I do have some notable releases that are up on the screen right now that I just missed. I could not see for whatever reason. Secret Agent was a particularly cursed one. I had a ticket to see that at Melbourne International Film Festival, and heartbreakingly I missed the fucking screening because work hit me last minute with just something I couldn't avoid, and I had to go to that instead of seeing the movie, and that just broke my heart. And then there hasn't really been a release that has lined up with my schedule since then. Trust me, I'm trying to watch that movie. Rental Family was another one that I couldn't see due to unfortunate circumstances. There were just cursed times where I just couldn't do it. But anyway, those ones I did miss, unfortunately, and will not be covered in the Kane Eddy Awards whatsoever. So I'd love to hear if you've seen those movies, if you insert it into any categories, let me know. Now let's kick this off with the very first award, Best Supporting Actress. There were many fine supporting performances through 2025, and these 5 actresses really made their impact felt in the limited amount of screen time that they had. Here are the 5 nominees. Mariam Afshari in It Was Just an Accident. Jodie Comer in 28 Years Later. Zoe Deutsch in Nouvelle Vague. Elle Fanning in Sentimental Value. And Gwyneth Paltrow in Mighty Supreme. And the winner for Best Supporting Actress is Elle Fanning from Sentimental Value.
I already have all these projects lined up. They're good enough parts, but they just don't have anything to do with me.
This performance rocked me to my core. I adored the performance that Elle Fanning gave in this movie. All the performances in this movie are very fine, but Elle Fanning really stood out here as someone that plays a very meta role within this film of trying to embody a character that the director is consistently saying is not personal to him, but is so clearly personal, and her trying to unearth that and find the nuance in such a character, and throughout that progression really realizing that this is a lot more difficult than what she thought it would be, and feels somewhat invasive, which leads to some interesting decisions for this character later in the movie. Elle Fanning had a spectacular 2025 with this and Death Stranding 2 on the beach being just so standout performances for me. But I really, really enjoyed her performance in Sentimental Value. And I think this is just such a testament to how great of a performer she can be. Now we move to Best Supporting Actor. These 5 performances were incredibly memorable and distinct to me. These supporting performances were really, really memorable and had such an impact in the movies they were in, similar to Supporting Actress. And these 5 performances I just truly adored and admire. Here are the 5 nominees for Best Supporting Actor. Jacob Elordi in Frankenstein, Ralph Fiennes in 28 Years Later, Matthew McConaughey in The Rivals of Amziah King, Adam Sandler in Jay Kelly, and Stellan Skarsgård for Sentimental Value. This was a really tough category to decide a winner for, like many of the categories for the 4th annual Kane Eddy Awards. That's the theme of this particular award show, was how competitive each and every film was. But I had to pick one performance, and while I was going back and forth on maybe 3 performances out of these nominees, one finally broke through and stood out, and to me, that was Matthew McConaughey in The Rivals of Amziah King. Now, this is a film that not many of you have probably seen. It will be releasing in 2026 for a lot of you. I was lucky enough to see this at the Melbourne International Film Festival on an IMAX screen, which was amazing. And to be honest, I was quite mixed on the movie. I didn't love all of it. I actually think the end of this movie is particularly weak, but the moments where Matthew McConaughey is present in this film really has some of the most dynamic and electric filmmaking that I've seen in a movie in 2025. And a large reason for that is the just incredible screen presence that Matthew McConaughey brings. He hasn't really acted too much in the last 5 to 10 years, apart from doing a lot of commercials. And just to see him back in a role that is quite serious and means something kind of personal to McConaughey was interesting to see. And every moment that this character was present, I just felt such a warmth on screen. He was just such a lovely presence that you just love to see in a film. And just everything about the character he plays just feels so authentic to a small town. And I loved the attitude that this character brings. I love the performances that McConaughey brings in this movie. He performs multiple songs in this. He's on the guitar, and a lot of it is just so interesting and dynamic and just draws you in. I really think this is a special performance, and I think you'll agree with me when you watch this movie in 2026. Next is one of the more newer categories that I've introduced into the Kane Eddy Awards, and that is the Back to the Future Award. This award, for those of you who don't know, is for recognizing a movie that released in the past that has become a first watch for me in 2025. And I just want to take the time to acknowledge just some excellent first watches that I got to see from a past film and experience something that is a classic, something that probably a lot of you have seen and resonated with, but I got to experience that for the first time and had such just a memorable and excellent experience with these movies. Here are the 5 nominees for the Back to the Future Award. An American in Paris, The Hunt, Malcolm X, Raging Bull, and Sing Sing. And the winner for the Back to the Future Award, you see the criterion behind me, it's Malcolm X, directed by Spike Lee. I have been a huge admirer of Spike's work, and this was a huge blind spot in his filmography. This is considered to be one of his magnum opuses among many that he has made. But this film was a true epic, and I took a risk on getting this movie. I went to LA earlier in 2025, and there was a Barnes & Noble with all these criterions. If you don't know, in Australia, criterions are extremely hard to come by. They don't really make them for players in Australia. You need to fork out quite a bit of money to even see the right one or get the right one. You have to do a lot more research than a typical American would. And just to be in LA where I got to go into a Barnes & Noble and see a wall of Criterions and get to pick one. I was like a kid in a candy store. There was just so many options, and I wanted to pick something I had seen and loved, but I also wanted to take a risk on something that I hadn't seen, and Malcolm X was that risk. I popped in the disc as soon as I got back home after this amazing America trip, and wow, Malcolm X blew me away. It's a 3-hour epic from Spike Lee filled with such compelling filmmaking. This is one of the most riveting films about a real-life figure that I've seen since Oppenheimer, and it has a similar level of scope. Denzel Washington is utterly unbelievable as Malcolm X. This is some of the best work he's ever done in his whole career. The camera is focused on this character for most of its runtime, and I think it does justice to capturing who Malcolm X was, who he represented, his value system, how he was criticized for that, and how he evolved as a human being, and his values evolved over time as he matured and got older. It's just such a compelling character study about a real life figure, and obviously the way that he captures the tragic moments of the end of Malcolm X's life is some of the most devastating filmmaking that you can put to camera. And I really, really love this film. And if you have not seen Malcolm X, go check it out. It is such an incredible epic. Time to talk about one of the new categories that I've introduced this year. And it's a new category at the Academy Awards, so I thought, why not put it in here too? And that is Best Casting. The art of casting is something that is very interesting to me, and it's not something that I initially thought would fit really with the Academy Awards. I felt like it was too niche of a category. However, just looking at it and the art of casting, I've grown to appreciate it more and more, and I believe that these 5 films really embodied the art of casting and the importance it has on just bringing a cinematic experience to life. Here are the 5 nominees. Hamnet, Marty Supreme, Nouvelle Vague, Sinners, and Wake Up Dead Man. And the winner for Best Casting is Sinners. I mean, yeah, this is a huge ensemble piece filled with fantastic performances, and I think that is really what brings this home and makes this a bit different to a typical ensemble win, even though the ensemble is utterly fantastic. I think it's the fact that every single person chosen for their specific role in this movie couldn't have done it any better than what they did. The leads, played by Michael B. Jordan in both roles, Haley Steinfeld, Miles Caton, Delroy Lindo, Jack O'Connell, all of these performances were outstanding for vastly different reasons. And there's just so many great performances brought to life here, and bringing in debut performers, young talent like Miles Caton, someone who didn't really know how to be a musician or anything like that, and bring that to a role like this is truly spectacular and something that I highly commend. And the fact that so many of these performers just brought their A game to a film that really caught me by surprise, and I think a lot of people by surprise, with how excellent and exciting this film is and how much it just represents an interesting message within such an entertaining framework of a film. It's a brilliant movie, and I think the casting in this was utterly superb. I think they hit the nail on the head with every single option chosen to play a specific role in this movie. Time to move to something that I've long called the Best Banger category, the Best Original Song. I love so many original themes and music that comes from films. It really dictates a lot of my own playlist and just what I listen to in general, probably to an annoying fashion to some people. But these were the 5 original songs that I was just listening to the most and was just really vibing with throughout 2025. Last Time I Seen the Sun from Sinners, Lose My Mind from F1 the Movie, Lowly from 28 Years Later, Snakes in the Garden from Lurker, and Trunks from Highest to Lowest. And the winner for Best Original Song is Last Time I Seen the Sun from Sinners. This song carries so much weight within the film itself in the beautiful ending sequence, which I think was just such a standout moment in cinema in 2025. And the song plays a huge role in that. It's once again performed brilliantly by the artists involved. I think that the vocals here are utterly outstanding. And it's one where I listen to this song and I'm instantly transported to the world of Sinners. I really believe this song just meant so much and is overall just a quality banger of a tune that is just great to listen to. Generally, it just fits both so well, and I think that's what I'm looking for Best Original Song. It's something that I listen to and enjoy listening to, but it also has to play a significant role in the movie, and I think Last Time I Seen the Sun does that better than any song that I heard for a film in 2025. A lot of the sentiments that I discuss with Best Original Song really do carry over to Best Original Score. Scores is something that I also listen to all the time on Spotify. It's just something that, once again, transports me to the world of the film, reminds me of the emotions I felt during the film, and a really good one can just instantly do that and can play such a pivotal role in shifting the tone of a movie. Sure, some movies do rely on score a little bit more than what they should, but these ones were just placed perfectly and meant so much to the films they played in. These are the 5 nominees for Best Original Score. Begonia, F1 the Movie, Mickey 17, One Battle After Another, and The Phoenician Scheme. And the winner for Best Original Score is F1 the Movie.
It's going to be different. It got all these ideas what it's going to be, and it's not going to be that. It's going to be something maybe a little bit more fabulous.
Look, I know that's probably not the most popular take amongst definitely film Twitter crowd who sees F1 the Movie as an Oscar villain. And I can understand that to an extent because I'm not crazy high on the movie myself. But Hans Zimmer's score in F1 the Movie was brilliant. I'm also a huge fan of F1 the Sport, and the moment that they played Hans Zimmer's track in the intro to watching one of the races was just one of the coolest things ever. And that's not the reason that I'm picking it. It's a great tune. The main theme of F1 the Movie is brilliant. It's so upbeat. It just takes you into the F1 world once again. It captures the spirit of racing and motorsport so very well, and we all know Hans Zimmer is probably the GOAT at this point. I mean, every single time he delivers on a score for a movie, it's just always a banger every time. And the technical craftsmanship that goes into each and every one of his scores is so impressive. I really do appreciate the amount of effort, the amount of collaborators you need to get a score underway and to be played effectively within a film. And Hans Zimmer and the team that he brings with him for a movie like this to bring together a great composition, I really appreciate it. And I love this score so much. Now, let's talk about a very underrated category, Best Animated Feature. I think animated films are vastly looked over a lot of the time, and it is a little bit sad because I think the artistry that is brought to life for an animated film of many different formats is so brilliant and is mind-blowing. Once again, when I went to America last year, I got to visit the Academy Museum and see the set of Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, and to see the artistry of that and how much effort is put together to create something like that, it was so brilliant. Likewise, when I went to Acme earlier this year and I saw a lot of the figures for Memoir of a Snail. Yes, these are both sort of stop motion animation utilizing figures, and that I can really appreciate, but also hand-drawn animation, computer-generated animation. It all takes so much effort from many people, a wide team, and I think it deserves so much credit for the effort that goes into that. And while I didn't think 2025 was the strongest year of animation personally, there were a couple that definitely deserved a little bit of recognition, at least. Here are the 5 nominees for Best Animated Feature. The Bad Guys 2, Elio, K-pop Demon Hunters, Little Amelie for the character of Rain, and Predator, Killer of Killers. And the winner for Best Animated Feature is The Bad Guys 2.
Showtime. Oh, baby! It's the bad guys!
Look, I love both the Bad Guys movies. The first one I watched before I attended the Australian premiere screening of The Bad Guys 2 at the Melbourne International Film Festival. It felt weird because my wife and I were the only 2 adults in a screening really designed for families and many kids. Looked like they all had a great time. The writer of the books was there. It was a big event. And these movies are just flat out entertaining. They're voice acted so well. I particularly like Mark Maron and Sam Rockwell in their respective roles. The style of animation, I think, while not the greatest I've ever seen, is serviceable and does do a good job within the film. But I just think the best thing about The Bad Guys is just how entertaining a lot of the sequences are. The final act of The Bad Guys 2 I thought was brilliant and just utterly entertaining. The humor, while immature at points, just really spoke to me, and I had a great time laughing at this movie, having a good time with this movie, just being thoroughly entertained by it. I was charmed the hell by The Bad Guys 2 and what it managed to achieve, and that's why it's getting Best Animated Feature. Time to move to the craft categories now, and start that off with Best Makeup and Hairstyling. Some of the work that these artists do is just mind-blowing in so many ways, of being able to transform somebody and make them look so vastly different, completely unrecognizable from just such a famous actor or just anyone in general. These transformations are unbelievable and take hours upon hours of work, testing the patience of the performers and having to sit in a chair sometimes for up to 10 hours, a whole day of prep like that. It can be brutal, but the effort that goes into it of just focusing on each and every little tiny detail in transforming a person entirely and having that all hold together for a scene in a film is spectacular. And we're going to highlight the 5 best versions of that in 2025. 28 years later, Bring Her Back, Frankenstein, The Smashing Machine, and Weapons. And to me, the winner for Best Makeup and Hairstyling was kind of a no-brainer. It's Frankenstein. I mean, the craft that went into putting this together is really an achievement and something that deserves all of the praise and recognition and has been getting. Jacob Elordi completely transforming into the monster is such a great application of makeup and hairstyling, and this character undergoes many changes throughout the film and is completely unrecognizable. Very similar to what Bill Skarsgård went through last year with Nosferatu, which is something that I also wanted to highlight at last year's Kane Eddy Awards, and I'm going to do the same thing here, because just doing these big transformations into a monster, something completely unrecognizable, being practical, is just what I love to see on a cinema screen, and Frankenstein looks all the more better for it, and I think a lot of it really helped Jacob Elordi bring together a really great supporting performance, a Kane Eddy Award nominated performance, and that is the power that makeup and hairstyling can bring to a film, and I think Frankenstein did that better than any film that I have seen in 2025. Another really incredible craft is costume design. Once again, similar to makeup and hairstyling, putting the time and effort to design costumes that help a character transform and really capture the world is becoming slowly a lost art, as visual effects are sort of taking over a lot in that space. A lot of costumes that performers wear now is almost entirely green screen sometimes, and I really appreciate a lot more when an artist is able to bring their vision to life in crafting such a great costume. It feels so authentic and real, and is something that I just love seeing on the big screen. And these 5 films just did such an incredible job of designing excellent costumes. Here are the 5 nominees for Best Costume Design. The Fantastic Four: First Steps, Frankenstein, Mickey 17, Sinners, and Wicked for Good. And the winner for Best Costume Design, it is Frankenstein. I'm not lying when I'm saying that this is a true crafting achievement. It's one of the greatest crafting achievements that I have seen in a very long time in terms of being able to bring together a production and making all of this feel so authentic and building this world. The costume design is a huge part of that, and many of the costumes are utterly outstanding. I thought every single dress that Mia Goth wore in this movie was a singular crafting achievement popping up on screen each and every time, and the film looked all the more better for it. Seeing these flowing big dresses, seeing the raggedy clothes of the creature, seeing some of the dapper looks that Frankenstein was wearing, it all just helps bring this world to life, and these details I do not take for granted at all. I think the costume design in Frankenstein was utterly brilliant. I think many of times visual effects is definitely brought up in a lot of negative connotations with certain films, with it being overused and overdone. But I do think there is also an art to it. And once again, many hours go into crafting brilliant visual effects. And I think good ones do a great job of capturing things that you just cannot create otherwise, that are just virtually impossible, and bring together some of the wildest imaginations from filmmakers to life in ways that we have never seen. These 5 nominees do an excellent job of doing that. Here are the 5 nominees for Best Visual Effect. Avatar: Fire and Ash, Beast of War, F1 the movie, Mickey 17, and Warfare. And the winner for Best Visual Effects is Avatar: Fire and Ash. It really is a no-brainer. Every single time an Avatar movie comes out, it's just going to win because they are always head and shoulders better than any other movie that has ever existed. The visual effects for each and every one of these Avatar movies reign supreme. I mean, the first Avatar has still aged really well, which is not something that you can say for a lot of visual effects as technology evolves. And we're at a point now with Avatar where I really don't know how much further you can push it than what Avatar: Fire and Ash and The Way of Water did a few years ago. The fact that Pandora is captured and brought to life in magnificent ways through its visual effects is the exact artistry I'm talking about when it comes to brilliant visual effects creating a world. They brought together the wild imagination of James Cameron for these movies and made it something that means a lot to a lot of people and captures one of the most beautiful worlds ever explored in cinema. Avatar: Fire and Ash is once again a cinematic achievement in visual effects and definitely deserves all the recognition in the world for just capturing so many great effects. The Na'vi and Pandora has never looked better. Best sound, I think, is such an interesting category and one that doesn't get properly explored a lot of the time at many award shows, because I think a lot of the time it's usually the biggest and loudest movie, and while that definitely does have its place and can sometimes be a true sound achievement, what I really like to look for with a sound achievement is the purpose it plays within the film and the narrative, and how important it really is in capturing what a film is trying to bring across, whether that be the mixing or certain sounds that feel distinct. These were the 5 biggest achievements in sound in 2025. Bring Her Back, Eddington, F1 the movie, If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, and Warfare. And the winner for Best Sound was If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You.
Is the house gonna fall on top of us? Mommy! We just got home, and you would not believe.
I think the sound plays such a pivotal role in this movie. If you've seen If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, you'd understand how stressful this film truly is. Once again, this was a film I was luckily enough able to see at the Melbourne International Film Festival for one of its Australian premiere screenings. Mary Bronstein, the director, was in attendance and spoke to the effectiveness of the sound and how much it does play a pivotal role in the film. And watching it for myself and making up my own mind and conclusion on that, I definitely agree with her. There's just certain little sounds in the movie, whether that be the child constantly talking, that is never really shown on screen for a lot of this film, from just sounds happening around this character, whether that be in the house or just general just ruckus going on all the time. All of it creates an atmosphere that consistently has you stressed all the way throughout it, and it makes for a really great film and definitely manages to capture everything it wants to achieve. And I think the sound plays such a pivotal role in that. And yes, it's not the loudest or craziest or bombastic sound, but it definitely plays such a key role in this movie. And that is where I think the real achievement of the sound is for If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, and that is why it is winning this award. Editing has always been one of my favorite technical categories because it's something where the more you do it, the more you can really understand how insane it is that someone is able to cut together a film and just make it be coherent at all. So let alone just doing that and actually bringing it to life and having some sort of style and cutting the movie in a way that conveys so much about the tone of the film and what it is trying to do, being effective in the messaging of the film without distracting the viewer or just turning them off completely from the pace, knowing when to cut, how to cut, and make the film flow in a way that is entertaining and keeps you glued to the screen all the way throughout is something that I cannot even fathom. And these 5 films really blew my mind with the way they were edited, because damn, these people truly have the sauce. Here are the 5 nominees for Best Editing. If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. Jay Kelly. Marty Supreme. No Other Choice. And The Rivals of Amziah King. And the winner for Best Editing is Marty Supreme, which is edited by Josh Safdie and Ronald Bronstein. These two did an excellent job here, and while I am not a huge fan of a director editing their own work, because a lot of the time they can fall in love with their own work and the film can feel overlong and a little indulgent at times if they do that. But I think Josh Safdie knew exactly how to cut this movie, and that's maybe why he relied on a collaborator with Ronald Bronstein, because the two of them really did a great job in keeping the energy of Marty Supreme alive. It is an electric film and is able to do so much within its 2.5-hour runtime that I was utterly blown away by it. The fact that the film shifts tones through all 3 of its acts has you along for the ride in all of the chaos of it all, where you can clearly understand everything that is going on, and yet it still has so much impactful imagery that is edited all the way throughout that you can still interpret many things about it long after the credits have rolled. I think this is a true achievement in editing, and I was utterly blown away by the electricity that Josh Safdie and Ronald Bronstein were able to bring to this film through the craft of editing. Production design is another element that I really love in terms of just bringing a film world to life, and actually building a set really is a true achievement, because once again, there are so many crafts that go into that, from the design of it all to actually implementing it and having many trades put together something that is just purely designed to be artificial and just to be for the film. Once again, going to LA last year was really eye-opening in terms of seeing how sets are actually built. I got to see the difference between practical sets and more artificial ones when I did the Warner Brothers Studio lot tour, and seeing how something that when you actually are there, it looks so fake, but the way that they are able to capture it in a camera makes it all look so real. And that's the trickery behind production design. And these 5 films, I think, did such a phenomenal job of just instantly putting you into this world and making you believe that every single set and every single piece of architecture within these movies was part of this world. These are 5 nominees for Best Production Design. Caught Stealing, Eddington, Exit 8, Frankenstein, and The Phoenician Scheme. And the winner for Best Production Design just had to be Frankenstein. Everything that I've said already about this movie is once again true here. The fact that these sets were built for this movie is utterly unbelievable. I already spoke about how I was blown away by just seeing the animated set for Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. So I couldn't imagine the full scale that was put together for Frankenstein. I think I would just pass out from just being overwhelmed by how amazing that would look in person. And the way it is captured on camera is one of the finest things that I have seen in a movie. And there are so many different sets, whether that be Victor Frankenstein's lab, whether that be the university where he presents some of his research, to the boat. And there's so many things here where there's just so much intricate detail put into every fiber of this production design. I cannot imagine the amount of work it took to put something like that together, and then to capture it the way that Guillermo del Toro does is truly spectacular. I think Frankenstein is Guillermo del Toro's finest achievement as a filmmaker. I do think it is his best work, and it lives up to his lofty ambition of putting together a story that he has long wanted to tell, and the production design is a huge aspect of that. I think just watching it for the crafts alone makes the film worthy of a recommendation, let alone the actual compelling nature of the story itself. Go watch Frankenstein and be utterly blown away by these sets. I guarantee that will happen to you, just like it happened to me. I love cinematography. It's easily, out of all of the technical categories and crafts, it's one of the first things you can point at and be like, you can instantly notice what it is. Cinematography has many components, whether that be the lighting or the way that the camera just frames a certain shot. Many aspects of cinematography is so important to the messaging of a film, and putting together, visualizing an idea that was put on the page. You need a director to be able to clearly communicate the way that certain shots need to be delivered, and it's up to the director of photography and their team of cinematographers to put together this image and capture it in just such a pristine way. It's the trickiest job, I think, in the world to do, and there must be so much pressure put under these filmmakers to be able to deliver, but these ones rise above and nail it and create some of the finest images that I've seen in a film in 2025. Here are the 5 nominees for Best Cinematography. Jay Kelly, Marty Supreme, No Other Choice, Nouvelle Vague, and Sinners. And the winner for Best Cinematography is Nouvelle Vague. This film is utterly stunning from start to finish. It has one of the most effective uses of black and white that I have ever seen. It captures the French New Wave so very well. The way that Richard Linklater wanted to craft this movie is expertly portrayed and produced some of the finest images in a film in 2025. Some of them were so awe-inspiring to me that I was almost brought to the verge of tears just by how amazing some of these shots were. I really adored this film in many ways, but the cinematography to me is definitely a standout feature of this film, and it feels like something that it truly specialized in and succeeded in doing. I love this film so much, and I really recommend you check it out. It's one of those films that I just felt so great after seeing it. I just felt so uplifted. And if you truly love cinema, I think this film is an easy recommendation. And just see it for the cinematography alone. It is so worth it just for that. One of the hardest and most daunting parts to creating a film is the inception of it itself. And there's no other place where that starts than the screenplay. Many people who are into films have tried to write a screenplay, and I think when you do attempt to do it, you realize just how difficult it truly is. There's more to it than just having an idea in your head. You need to bring it to life in a way that is coherent, that is entertaining, that is compelling, and can derive great performances. And only the most elite are able to do that. Now, there are two forms of that type of screenplay that we appreciate here at the Kane Eddy Awards. And the first one here is Best Adapted Screenplay. Something that is based off previous source material. And adapting something can almost be just as challenging because you have to make it your own. And I think these 5 films did it in just such superb fashion. Here are the 5 nominees for Best Adapted Screenplay. Begonia, Frankenstein, Mickey 17, No Other Choice, and One Battle After Another. And the winner for Best Adapted Screenplay is what Will Tracy managed to achieve with Begonia. This film, I think, manages to do so much, but I think its biggest achievement is distracting you from the fact that this is really just a chamber piece. This is 2 to 3 characters really in one space talking to each other for a lot of this film. But the screenplay is written in such a way where it feels so much more vast than what it actually is. And Begonia manages to communicate a lot to the audience. So much about corporations, about class structure and divide, about the current economic state of the world right now. Quote Jaden Smith right there. There's so many elements there that make Begonia just such a complex movie. And then above all of that, we have crazy conspiracy theorists and what they believe. That is all sugar-coated over this movie, and it's done in such an entertaining fashion. It knows when to have fun with its premise. It knows when to be funny. It has this dark, twisted sense of humor. And it feels just as mean-spirited as some of Yorgos Lanthimos' earlier works. And Will Tracy, who is someone that hasn't really worked too much with Yorgos Lanthimos, manages to capture that essence so very well. And I think his presence to writing this screenplay was very much needed in keeping Yorgos' films just so fresh and exciting. I think the screenplay is brilliant. There is a reason why every single performance here is so good. And yes, it does have such a talented cast, but the writing is so brilliant where these great performers can really perform at their very best because they're working with a great screenplay. Now let's move it to Best Original Screenplay, where these writers had to just start with a pen and paper or on their computer and just had to get into writing with their own ideas and their own thoughts and ideologies placed in some of these films. An original screenplay can feel so deeply personal to the filmmaker, and I think writing something like this is so incredibly challenging and always deserves to be appreciated. These films are truly spectacular and are the 5 nominees for Best Original Screenplay. Eddington, Lurker, Marty Supreme, Sentimental Value, and Sinners. This was easily one of the trickiest categories for me to pick. There were quite a few really solid options, and there was one winner I had in my mind throughout most of the year, but it quickly shifted because there is a film that just needs to be talked about, and the way it was able to communicate so many ideas, and I think communicate them expertly in a way that was so confronting but so essential, is what Ari Aster managed to do with Eddington. The film is utterly brilliant, and I know so many people have said this is not the type of movie they want to see. being this rendition of the chaos that happened during 2020. Not just the pandemic, but all the other things that surrounded that were something that hasn't exactly gone away. 2025 and 2026, you could almost argue that things are starting to get really, really bad and almost worse than ever. And Eddington puts that mirror to the audience and says, look at the fuckery that has happened over these years and just how ridiculous it truly is. And I think this is something that needed to be said. Eddington feels so unbiased in its approach. I know a lot of people have an issue with the way that Hollywood portrays certain narratives and definitely being more left-wing than right-wing. But I think Ari Aster really plays it down the middle and criticizes both sides for the way that they approach certain situations and topics where it just boiled into utter chaos and we just forgot about humanity as a whole. Eddington is one of the sharpest critiques of 2020 that I have ever seen, and I think it is an essential watch. It is a confronting watch, but it is so well done that it just deserves your attention. I think it also doesn't lack anything in terms of being an entertaining film. I mean, it is so riveting from start to finish. The performances are brilliant all the way through. I think the film just does so much. It is able to be so funny as well. There is some great comedy in this film that just feels right at home with it all, where it almost feels like a satire, but it can also switch on a dime and get deadly serious. This is all what could be the recipe for an utter mess. And I know some people actually do think that about this movie, but I honestly think you couldn't be more wrong. I think Eddington is so sharp in its approach. It's so cohesive and so brilliant that I think the more you watch it, the more you can get out of it. I think it's a deeply layered screenplay, and it's some of Ari Aster's finest work to date. He is a talented filmmaker that's making truly original films that, yes, can be confrontational, can make you feel uncomfortable, but he doesn't give a fuck about that. And if you're willing to put that aside for a second and really take in what this movie's trying to do, it's really brilliant. And Eddington is a must watch, and a lot of that boils down to how brilliant this screenplay is. We talked about the supporting categories early, but now it's time to talk about the lead ones. We're going to start with Best Leading Actress. I think there were just so many strong performances by leading actresses in the film space in 2025. Just brilliant performance after brilliant performance. Some of them are just truly just some of the strongest performances of the year, period. I was utterly blown away by so many of these. Some proved actresses are just all-time greats in the space and are able to deliver consistent work. Other ones are just purely breakout roles where they were able to tap into something that we had not previously seen before from them and challenge themselves in a way that was really mind-blowing and so refreshing to see. These are my picks for the 5 best actresses of 2025. Jessie Buckley for Hamnet. Rose Byrne in If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. Sally Hawkins in Bring Her Back. Jennifer Lawrence in Die My Love. And Emma Stone in Begonia. Another really tough category, but I just had to stick to my guns here, and the one that just gave me the biggest reaction out of seeing the film, and that was Rose Byrne in If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You.
Hey, Mom, it was barely just a tap.
Don't fucking call me mommy. She thought we were gonna die. Don't fuck with me about my child's safety. Huh? Give me all your information.
I think this is a role that we had never quite seen before, and I think she has the most pressure on her out of these 5 films to deliver a breathtaking performance. The camera is on her character for the entirety of this movie, sometimes in an extremely uncomfortable close-up. Mary Bronstein talked about how this was shot on 35mm film with these real cameras, and to be able to communicate so much with what Mary Bronstein wanted to tell, she needed to get the camera right up to Rose Byrne's face in her personal space, and she has to deliver a breathtaking, never before seen performance from her, and she delivers every single scene. It is outstanding. I'm so compelled by this character, and Rose Byrne just brings such magnetism to the screen. It is a wonderful screen presence where you're just drawn into her performance and you're with her for this stressful ride. She's playing a character that is beyond Rose Byrne as a person. She's completely transformed here, and I think this deserves all the credit in the world for bringing together a real performance. She didn't have to go method or do anything theatrical with it. She just had to deliver a fucking amazing performance, and she turned up on the day and managed to do it with insane preparation and able to just get this done in such a short amount of time. I mean, the amount of pressure she must have been under would have been ridiculous, and it probably would have matched the intensity and pressure that the film is trying to convey. I was just so impressed with what Rose Byrne was able to do, and it's always great to see a fellow Australian turn out in a role like this. It's just so cool to see. Now we're going to switch over to Best Actor. A lot of the same things can be said here. These 5 performers just really brought their A game here. Were able to deliver either borderline career best work or career best work, embodied a role, and drew me to the screen. Here are the 5 nominees for Best Leading Actor. Timothy Chalamet in Mighty Supreme. Dwayne Johnson in The Smashing Machine. Guillermo Marbeck in Nouvelle Vague. Joaquin Phoenix in Eddington. And Jesse Plemons in Begonia. In terms of putting together 5 nominees, this was by far the hardest category to do, but I had to stick with those 5. There were probably 12 total where I was seriously considering for the nomination and definitely had in at some point. It was utterly wild. I mean, the list of amazing actors this year was really outstanding, and I know I have quite a few snubs which some of you might find to be quite egregious, like a Michael B. Jordan or a Leonardo DiCaprio, and even like a George Clooney or something like that, right? Trust me, they were right in there at one point or another, and I really just had to knuckle down and pick a 5 because I had to get this video out and I couldn't keep going back and forth. But anyway, this is the 5 that I'm sticking with. These 5 performances were incredible, and I think the winner that I have to give to Best Actor was really a no-brainer from the minute that I saw this film was Timothy Chalamet in Mighty Supreme.
I have a purpose. And if you think that's some sort of blessing, it's not. It means I have an obligation to see a very specific thing through.
He is now the first back-to-back winner at the Kane Eddy Awards, and I think now the most winning actor at the Kane Eddy Awards after winning for Best Actor for Dune Part 2 last year. He has continued to deliver generational work. He is the best actor of his generation, and I have no doubt about that. He has delivered time and time again with just all-time great performances, and the way he is able to still manage to be so consistent year after year with so many different roles is so impressive to me. And Mighty Supreme is wonderful work from him. It was a role that required so much range from him as an actor. He had to be comedic, he had to be serious, he had to be intense, he had to be an arsehole, he had to be someone that wasn't too much of an arsehole though, because the film asks you to connect with him at really key moments in the film, and he can still do that. The way that he is able to communicate so much with his face. There's so many shots in this movie where it's really just a shot of his face and you are just drawn in to the performance. There are key moments in this film that will be analyzed because of his performance. There's just so much this film asks of him and he delivers. And I think Josh Safdie is just so excellent and adept at being able to get all-time great performances out of his actors. It happened with Adam Sandler with Uncut Gems. It happened with Robert Pattinson with Good Time. And it's happening here with Timothy Chalamet in Mighty Supreme. He's worked his ass off to get to this point, and I really appreciate everything he's managed to achieve as a performer so far. And I can't wait to see what he will continue to do in his definitely long and illustrious career. Timothy Chalamet is once again a Best Leading Actor winner for Mighty Supreme. He's going back to back.
What the fuck is this?
I don't know.
International cinema really thrived in 2025. Some of the best movies of this year, period, were international films. And I know at last year's Kane Eddy Awards, I definitely had some comments to say about distribution in Australia. And looking back, I think it's more of a Queensland thing than an Australia-wide thing, because Queensland really sucked dick at getting some of these movies out to you. And if they were to come out to you, it'd be in a theater fucking an hour or two away, and it would be playing at 5:30 p.m. on a work day. It's like, what are you thinking? Melbourne, however, since moving here, I have noticed that international cinema is a lot easier to come by, and I was able to see so many of just a great slate of international cinema that played in 2025, and I just think it was just so enriching of an experience, and I was able to do this category justice, the justice it so rightfully deserves. Here are the 5 nominees for Best International Feature. From Japan, Exit 8. From Iran, It Was Just an Accident. From South Korea, No Other Choice. From France, Nouvelle Vague. And from Norway, Sentimental Value. Another tricky category. There was some definite masterpieces out of these nominees. I had to pick quite a few here, and it got really tricky, but one just stuck out as the best, and that was what Park Chan-wook did with No Other Choice. He is one of the most talented filmmakers, one of the most master filmmakers that is going right now, that is able to provide such enriching work, is able to communicate so much with an image, and is able to just keep things fresh constantly, is able to twist something on a dime, is able to communicate so much in terms of social messaging without being overly preachy. No Other Choice felt somewhat similar, and definitely in talks with something like Parasite, which is from another all-time great Korean filmmaker in Bong Joon-ho. I think what Park Chan-wook did here was brilliant, and I think it had one of the most relevant messages in a film in 2025 about the current state of the job market and how fucking appalling it is to get a job. And this film tilts everything on its head, puts everything to just a catastrophic extreme, where this character goes to maniacal lengths to achieve his goal, and without him doing that, without going down that dark route that Park likes to go down, you don't get something that feels as razor sharp as this does. The final shots of this movie will stick in my head forever in terms of just really illustrating the whole process of trying to get a job, and then what you're actually fighting for, which isn't really something that is all that great, but it's just enough to fucking feed your family. And with the way the world is now, that is becoming increasingly harder to do. It's something that frustrates the hell out of a lot of people. It pisses me off to no end, and it's not getting any better. And I'm so glad to see Park Chan-wook deliver something as sharp as this film does. I think this is a must watch, and even if you are someone that isn't really on board with some of this messaging, that's fine. You still have such an entertaining movie to see, just a great thriller about a guy that is trying to kill off the other applicants of a job. The premise like that is just so entertaining and feels so ingenious, and it's like, how has that not been conceived already in film format as effectively as this? Park just does it so well here. I loved every minute of this movie. It's so brilliant all the time, and wow, this is an easy recommendation for you, and it's a film that I'll definitely rewatch again in the future because this thing is so well made. We're now into the big four, the really, really major categories, ones that I really, really look at in high regard. Starting off with Best Director. This category means so much to me. As someone that really follows a lot of auteur filmmakers and the works that they manage to do, It is truly awe-inspiring seeing how many roles a director has to take on to put something across the line. And it's even more so when they're a writer as well. They've conceived of the idea and now they have to execute it. They have to manage all of these performances. They have to write 1 billion emails to all the different department heads to try and figure all of these things out. They're running the show completely, and that must take so much pressure. And to do it at this scale that these filmmakers do is utterly impressive. And then just to get a film across the line is an achievement, let alone being able to do it in such a fashion where they've created something just utterly mind-blowing that feels so distinct and powerful. That to me is just so inspiring, and is why I truly love filmmaking craft like this. Here are the 5 nominees for Best Director. Ari Aster for Eddington, Park Chan-wook for No Other Choice, Ryan Coogler for Sinners, Richard Linklater for Nouvelle Vague, and Josh Safdie for Marty Supreme. And the winner for Best Director is Ryan Coogler. This was such a difficult decision, dude. This took forever to come up with, and to be honest with you, in terms of editing and putting together graphics and everything like that, this was actually the last category that I had to decide on because it took me that long, and it just got to the point where I was like, okay, we have to just think of what was truly the greatest cinematic achievement in terms of bringing something to life like this. And Ryan Coogler, what he was able to do with Sinners, considering his previous work as well, all throughout the years where he's consistently delivered on quality, is truly mind-blowing. And Sinners is unbelievable in terms of its just filmmaking feat. The way it is shot on just such epic proportions, utilizing IMAX 65mm film to such effective fashion, not really seen before in a movie since Oppenheimer did it. I think the film is all the more better for it. It looks massive, it feels massive, and the imagery that is captured on screen is utterly beautiful. The performances all the way through are amazing. I've already awarded this for casting. Its ensemble is brilliant. The performances all the way through are brilliant. The writing is brilliant. The film, what is able to conceive, and the messaging that it has all the way throughout was so compelling. It was a film that just locked me in, and I just feel like Ryan Coogler is just this generation's Spike Lee in terms of bringing together exciting black cinema, and it's just so cool to see. And I love that we have a filmmaker like Ryan Coogler who is able to inspire many to make quality films the way that he does. And I can't wait to see the many filmmakers that will follow in his footsteps. Another thing that really put him over the edge in terms of giving this award is the fact that he backed himself wholly for this film. He's going to own the rights to Sinners, and that is such a gamble, because if, and that's a big if he doesn't succeed with Sinners, that could have just fallen flat on its face. But it's a huge hit because he backed himself and he knew what he was able to do with this movie, and he achieved it every single step of the way. Sinners is a masterful work, and if we're talking about, Best Picture nominees and things like that, it really seems like the race is going to be between Sinners and One Battle After Another, and out of those two, I think Sinners is slightly more deserving than One Battle After Another, because it is just utterly breathtaking all the way throughout, and that is why it is winning Best Director. 2025 was not just an amazing year for cinema. I also got to finally marry my beautiful fiancée, Tanisha Thompson. It was such an amazing moment, and because of that, a certain category called the Fiancé Award has now changed to the Wife Award, and without further ado, a better way to introduce that than my beautiful wife, Tanisha Thompson.
Hi, I am absolutely honored to be now presenting the Wife Award.
Let's go.
Yeah! At the 4th annual Kane Eddy Awards. I'm so excited. 2025 has been an absolutely amazing year for film. We've seen so many great films.
Yep.
My tastes are a little bit different to Kane's, so you might see some things that he hasn't put in there, and different winners. But let's get into the nominees.
I'm always so fascinated by this award because Tanisha just has unpredictable taste sometimes. I'll be like, yeah, that was good. And she'll be like, no, this was shithouse. And then vice versa. I mean, sometimes I'm just like, I don't know. And sometimes we completely agree. So I'm very interested to see where she's going to go with this category.
Well, let's get into those nominees. 28 years later. Avatar, Fire and Ash. Beasts of War. Hamnet. Marty Supreme. Nouvelle Vague. The Phoenician Scheme. Sentimental Value. Sinners. Wake Up Dead Man. And the winner of the Wife Award was very, very hard to choose. It was between two in the end, and one just made me so emotional, and it just has stuck with me, and that one is Hamnet.
Oh, okay.
I absolutely love that film. I thought it was so beautiful. It had me, the whole third act had me in tears, bawling the whole time. I really felt something for all the characters. I think the kid, he was absolutely amazing.
Yep.
Where is his Oscar? Brilliant acting from a child.
Yeah, he was unbelievable.
Paul Mescal was great in it. Everyone was just absolutely amazing. And it was either Hamnet or Sinners. And Sinners, it was so close because Sinners was such a perfect movie.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
But I just my heart has a special place for Hamnet, so that's why it's winning the Wife Award.
It was so funny watching Hamnet because I was enjoying the screening, I was watching the movie, and it was starting to get to that emotional third act, and I just look over to Tanisha and just floods of tears. I mean, it was crazy. But yeah, it was so many sniffles in the theater.
Oh yeah.
It definitely got to me a little bit too. I got a little bit emotional as well. But yeah, that movie was utterly brilliant. and it was cool just humanizing Shakespeare in a way, and then also covering his wife as well, Agnes.
Oh, Jessie Buckley was phenomenal. Amazing. I'm hoping for the Oscar this year. She was 10 out of 10.
And she'll probably get it too.
Yeah, she was so good in that role.
Well, there you go. That was Tanisha's pick for the Best Movie of the Year, the Wife Award. One of the most prestigious categories at the Kane Eddy Awards, of course.
Stay tuned, because coming up we have the Best Picture Award.
Let's go. We'll see where that goes.
Let's go.
I think I've been yapping long enough. Let's hear what you guys had to say. It's time for the People's Choice Award, baby. The one that you guys voted for. All the nominees, the winners, completely decided by you guys. And I appreciate your vote every single year and coming through. It just brings so much life to this category. And it gives us a chance to recognize films that aren't just all about my opinion, but it shares what you guys believe in cinema and what you guys are looking for. And this is a harmonious relationship, watching these movies and talking about these movies, and I'm always down for your guys' recommendations and hearing what you guys have to say. And so this is just a great way to honor that. Here are the 5 nominees for the People's Choice Award. Begonia, K-pop Demon Hunters, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, and Sinners. That's a pretty great list, and looking at the way that the votes were going throughout, it was actually really close with you guys deciding on a winner. And it took one vote right at the very end that decided the fate of the winner of the People's Choice Award. And that winner is One Battle After Another.
You know what freedom is? What? No fear. Go!
This film has just been sweeping every single award imaginable, and it managed to take home the People's Choice Award. And I think it's a cool way of recognizing a movie that I do think is pretty great. I do think this is some of Paul Thomas Anderson's best work, and I think it is some of his most accessible work. I think seeing this on the IMAX screen that I got to see it on was utterly spectacular, The film is so entertaining from start to finish. The performances are brilliant. Leo is as good as ever. Sean Penn is unbelievable. Benicio del Toro is so funny. Tiana Taylor is great. Chase Infinity is great. It's just a good movie to watch, and it has just such an electricity to it and a great pace and rhythm to it. It is a long movie, but it flies by like that. And I think many of you really appreciate Paul Thomas Anderson as a filmmaker. He's one that I haven't always clicked with. I do like some of his work and some of his other work. It just hasn't quite worked for me. And so that has affected some of the way that I approach Paul Thomas Anderson movies. But for you guys who really appreciate his work, are going to recognize it in a way that I do think it deserves in a lot of ways, because he has managed to captivate audiences for many years now. And I'm so glad that we are able to recognize one battle after another for the People's Choice Award at the Kane Eddy Awards. There is now one award left to decide, and that is Best Picture. My 10 favorite films of the year. This is, once again, just another brutally difficult one to pick. As I've said throughout many of this award show and the marketing of this award show, this was by far the hardest Kane Eddy Awards for me to decide. It went so many different directions all the way through the year. There's probably many reviews I've had all through the year where I've said, I think this is the movie of the year. I think this is spectacular. I think this movie will be hard to beat for the movie of the year. But then something else just came along. And as I said, 2025 got off to a bit of a slow start. But as it progressed, we got banger after banger, and the way that 2025 ended, it was almost overwhelming, and it was so stacked with high quality releases where it just felt like the nominees were replacing each other, and the winner just kept changing in my head. And even up until its final moments, it took forever to lock down a 10 and pick a winner. But that's all gone now. I have that 10 locked in, and here are my nominees for Best Picture at the Kane Eddy Awards. Begonia, Eddington, Frankenstein, Marty Supreme, Mickey 17, No Other Choice, Nouvelle Vague, Sentimental Value, Sinners, and The Smashing Machine. Boy, this was a hard one to pick, and I have split so many categories, and there might be some direction that you think I'm gonna head in, but I'm gonna zag here. I think Best Picture at the Kane Eddy Awards is Marty Supreme.
Now look at this, an orange ball, which no one's ever thought of. See, you're already following it way better. Look at his eyes. You're looking more engaged now.
Buddy, custom ball like that, it's gonna cost a lot of money.
Of course it's custom. It's original ball for an original guy.
Oh, there we go. That was tough. That was tough. There was honestly 4 I was like, oh my god, it's so hard to distinguish the two. Those 4 were Marty Supreme. It was Eddington. It was No Other Choice. And it was Sinners. And those 4 were like battling it out like crazy in my head. And it was driving me crazy. But the more that Marty Supreme has stuck with me, the more it connects with me. I have loved every single minute of that movie. I have loved and appreciated Josh Safdie's work, and I think it has been long overdue for his work to be recognized. This is his most ambitious project to date. It has such a brilliant performance from Timothée Chalamet. It's edited supremely well. It's directed and written incredibly well. The fact that I am learning so much more about this film and how personal this movie actually is to Josh Safdie, that speaks so loudly about just the true essence of creating a film and what it actually means to do so. I think it is utterly fantastic. It succeeds on so many fronts, and beyond that, it's just a fun, good-ass movie. It starts off as an electric, high-octane, funny, edgy sports movie, and then it goes into Uncut Gems territory with just stressful hustling going on all the time, and Marty just showing his true colors all the way throughout, being such a scumbag and such a jackass. And in the third act, you're finding some kind of redemption despite all of the shit things he managed to do, and this character completely changing his perspective on things throughout the film as he learns what really matters most in this world. And that sort of character trait is something that I myself have gone through over the years in my own coming of age story. When I was a teenager, I felt like I could resonate with a lot of the characteristics that Marty Mauser had, minus all the illegal shit he pulls in the movie. But regardless, just the way that he values certain things and the way that changes as you get older and you realize what truly matters in life. That change is so significant and is something that really has affected me and has changed me a lot, especially as I've gotten married and now have just a beautiful dog as well. Like, all of these things, it really illustrates to me what truly matters, other than just trying to chase a high-end job or having some personal success. Yes, that's all flashing. Yes, that's all nice, but it kind of lacks substance. It's not what truly can give you real happiness and real contentment with life. The things that matter to you in life, the people that matter to you in life, is what dictates that. And Marty Supreme is able to do that in the most poignant fashion and hits you with that shock twist right as it's closing. And I think that was so profound and made this film so much more deeply layered than what I could ever imagine it being. This movie was breathtaking from start to finish. And yes, there were many great films that came out this year, many that I have awarded, but really none hit me and just had me as obsessed about it as I have been with Marty Supreme. It was just such a great ride, and it's something that I highly recommend you check out if you have yet to see it. And that's it for the Kane Eddy Awards, the 4th annual Kane Eddy Awards, done and dusted. I'm so excited to see how we're going to do in the 5th anniversary. I know the YouTube channel hasn't done the best in 2025, and that has purely been on me in terms of my priorities in life and things just dramatically shifting in 2025, from going on a big trip and getting married to actually moving interstate, and that being just such a challenging task. Obviously, it costs some money to go to a movie theater and see a movie, which is not something I've had an abundance of in 2025 because I've had so many life-changing moments that I've had to pay for in that year. But with 2026, I'm really trying to right the ship, and I'm slowly getting there. And I think with 2026, and I think as you've seen in January, there's been more content being put out and just more coverage as a whole, and me trying to really innovate and do different things that really excite you as a viewer. And that's what really matters at the end of the day. And that's something that I really want to focus on in 2026. So I hope you guys are all on board with that adventure. And I'm just so excited to see where we're going to take this channel in the future. And I'm hoping with some of the things that I'm planning, we're going to be able to do just more exciting things and have more exciting content for you guys. But anyway, that's my rambling done. Once again, I'm so deeply appreciative for every single one of you for tuning in and watching this. Remember to like and subscribe. And if you love the channel, I'd be deeply appreciative if you became a member. I'm going to begin launching a lot more members-only content in the future, and it won't impact the main stuff I put on the channel. It'll just be a little bit of extra fun for you guys to enjoy on the side. But anyway, that's my wrap-up. That's the Kane Eddy Awards, and I really hope you guys enjoyed. And I will see you in the next video. Have a good one. Goodbye.